How do everybody? Today, whilst I was at work, I was listening to the Telegraph, as in the newspapers. They have a podcast which is called the Daily Tea Podcast. I will share the video link below. Listen to the whole thing yourself. It's about 20 minutes, half an hour long. So it's quite interesting. I don't agree with everything that they say, but they do often raise quite good points. But there was one particular point in that video which I'll play in a moment for you, which I think is really, really important. And I think they've unintentionally hit on something which I think may start playing out as time goes on and making itself more evident. Anyway, I'll attach the video now and then we'll have a talk about it in a moment.
Talk about topsy-turvyism. We now have a Labour Prime Minister being hawkish on defence, cutting the foreign aid budget, even though Keir Starmer opposed that. Now, there's another irony here, just from a Brexiteer point of view, that we have Keir Starmer, the man who railed against the referendum result, who repeatedly said, if we do this in the campaign, part of Project Fear was very much, we will not have a seat at the table. If it comes to defending European interests, we'll be shut out. Oh, hang on a minute. We're now leading the summit on this. I appreciate it was pre-arranged and it's taken on a different meaning in the aftermath of what's happened on Thursday and Friday, but still. And then weirdly, he's been benefited by Brexit by being in this kind of quasi-European role. The US and Trump is looking upon the UK more favourably on the tariff issue because we are now no longer a member of the EU.
Now, what they were saying there, I find absolutely fascinating. As I did say the other day, I believe, and this is now putting doubt into my mind that it'd be achievable, although I still think they will try and achieve it, is that part of the reason for Europe and Britain being so hell-bent on getting involved in this war has been to try and further centralise power in the EU and potentially try to drag the UK back into the EU again and make them another member state. But the fact of what the Telegraph have hit on here, and I don't think they've become fully aware, is that by America engaging with Britain like they are, and Trump, and this is nothing new, by the way, Trump really, really wanted to do deals with Britain in his last tenure as president. You know, when Brexit was done, he was quite peeved off, really, because all the idiots in Parliament were dragging out the Brexit process and doing everything in their power to try and scupper it. But I think what we may possibly see is Donald Trump may start doing some incredibly lucrative deals with the United Kingdom. And really, Keir Starmer would be a madman to refuse them, because our economy at the moment is an absolute basket case. We're just being economically destroyed by ideology. It's crazy. A lot of this green energy stuff, that's the problem. We're going to start seeing that go away, because obviously we've got realpolitik going on right now. And vanity opinions can just go the way of the wind, really, don't they? So I think Keir Starmer he's getting reality hitting him in the face really hard. And I think what this will end up doing, though, is these deals will become incredibly important to the UK economy. That would then prevent us from being able to rejoin the EU, because in order to rejoin the EU, we would then have to get rid of those deals, which he'd be an absolute madman to do. Another point as well that I forgot. I think I forgot to mention it the other day, or I may have touched on it but not delved into it because I had a lot of thoughts going through my head. But it was also the fact I said in that video the other day about us having economic problems, as I've just mentioned again today. And I think I can't remember if I said it or not, but I do think a part of why Britain also wants to go into Ukraine is for mineral extraction. And a way of trying to shore up our economy that way. And I do believe that has actually been highlighted today, or possibly yesterday, that part of the security deal that the UK is offering to Ukraine is obviously for mineral wealth extraction. So that is also a very interesting reason as to why Britain does seem so hell-bent on going in there as well. Which does make sense. I'm not saying I agree with it, but from an economic point of view, it does make sense. But another part as well that I've been considering with this, and I'll bring up a tweet in a minute from Kemi Badenoch, the current leader of the Conservative Party. I also think part of what Trump's doing, and he's been very, very vocal in the past about being upset about NATO, or so to speak, NATO members not paying the amounts that they should be and not pulling the weight. And I do think a big part of this as well has been Donald Trump basically rug pulling NATO and saying, look, you guys need to really start pulling your fingers out. I'll get that tweet up now. We'll have a quick read through it and then we'll discuss a few more points after that. So here we have Kemi Badenoch's Twitter page. We'll just have a quick read of it and then we'll get to discussing it. The news overnight that America is halting military aid to Ukraine is profoundly worrying. It is clear that Britain and Europe must rearm much faster if we want to provide UK with more than just warm words of support. Sorry, Ukraine with more than just warm words of support. We must work to keep America in and Russia out. Now, obviously, that's just one example that I've given you there, but there are many, many, many other examples of many, many other politicians all saying the exact same thing, including the Prime Minister himself, by the way, who has obviously increased defence spending already. Rather questionably, in my own opinion, but that may very well change as well in the not too distant future. Now, I do think that this does show what I'm saying. That, now, whether it's intentional or not, Donald Trump, I don't know. I think it may be. I think he may be trying to whip up hysteria in European leaders in order to try and snap them out of the craziness of wokeness and the sort of liberal New World Order mentality. Trying to get Europe to just get out of its malaise of self-hatred, self-loathing, and get back to actually thinking about national security, which will be a good thing, by the way, because once they start thinking about external security, they'll start thinking about internal security as well, which means they'll start asking questions about, millions of people moving here from the third world and what will happen if they all decide to organise and become a sort of threat within our own borders. So that in and of itself, I think, is a very, very good thing. Another thing to add with somebody like Kemi Badenoch as well. I mean, people might say, "Well, who is she? She's the leader of the opposition. She's a nobody." Well, for a start, you don't just become the leader of the Conservative Party and stay there unless you are towing the sort of uni-party line. Liz Truss will attest to that. What happens when you don't toe the uni-party line? They get rid of you. But also, it's either, I think, herself or possibly her husband have been incredibly high up in Deutsche Bank. So these people, they aren't just in the belly of the beast, they are actually a part of the beast's anatomy. So Kemi Badenoch is not a nobody when it comes to being in these sort of citizens of nowhere, sort of WEF, Davos sort of group of people. She's incredibly entrenched within that sort of tranche of people. So when she's talking about needing to rearm and needing to pull our weight and blah, 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 that's that opinion carries a lot of weight and sort of tells you which way the wind is blowing, politically speaking. Now, I don't think that Europe and even Keir Starmer will stop trying to get the UK back into the EU at some point. But I do think we are going to see it, as time goes on, become more and more untenable in regards to things like America offering deals to Britain and other such commitments, and a few people as well have been saying that they think that the UK going to Ukraine is going to be like a sort of tripwire to drag America into a war with Russia. It ain't going to happen, guys. That is just absolute poppycock. Basically, I believe it's Article 5, which has the specifics on dragging nations into war, and it's only if a nation state itself is attacked do all NATO members get pulled in. That's why, for example, when we went to, say, I don't know, Iraq or Afghanistan as two quick examples, why the entirety of NATO didn't get involved in those wars, because those were adventures that we chose to go and do ourselves. We weren't being attacked. And as Ukraine is not a NATO member, for us to go into Ukraine and engage in combat there, we can't drag other NATO members in with us. So anybody who's saying about Ukraine and Britain and France's involvement there being to drag America into it, they're talking out the backsides, I'm afraid, and they don't know what they're on about. But that's my opinion. Read the articles for yourself, make your own mind up on that, obviously, and watch that video that I've shared below. Just a few thoughts on that. I don't want to go too deep into it, try and keep the video a bit shorter, but I definitely think it's a few interesting bits there, and it's certainly showing we're in wild times at the moment. Absolutely wild and unprecedented times. Very interesting and very fun to analyse. Anyway, thanks for your time, take care, and goodbye.